Hello and welcome back. In this lesson, we are going to learn about blueprint macros. Let's open the damage player blueprint. Macros are encapsulated blueprints so they can be reused later on for different purposes. Might look similar to functions, but there is key difference between these two. In functions, there can be only one execution pin, and macros can have multiple execution pins. So let's see how it works. Drag and drop the boolean variable, and let's set it. And call branch, because always we are checking booleans with branch. So how can we create macros from this? There is many ways how we can create macros, but let's see the easy way. Select the blueprints that you want to encapsulate into macros. Right click, collapse to macro. And now we see this little node here, and on the left side we have to name it. So let's name it is player dead. Now let's double click in this node. And here we see what we have encapsulated. Now we are into is player dead macro. So macro have inputs and outputs. Let's take this input pin and put it into this one. And also this red input to this one. Take this true output into the output and false output into this output. So what we have created now, input execution pin and input of the variable. And output we have either true or false. In blueprint functions, you cannot have these execution pins more than one. In macros, we can. If you create, let's say just for example, copy and paste branch, you can add more outputs like this. So this is the key difference between functions and macros. Let's delete this for now. If you see what do we have as an input or output, simply select one of these, either outputs or inputs. Whichever you select, we're going to see these two windows on the right. So we have inputs and outputs. Regardless of which one you select, we're going to see these two windows. At the moment we have true 2 and false 2, which means these are into output section. So it's this section here. We have true 2 and false 2. Click on the X here to delete. One more time. Now when we go back to our event graph, we see this node. We have created everything, all of this, within one node. So you can use this as many times you want to check whether the player is dead or not. For example, we can check whether the player is dead or not when the game starts. Simply select or deselect. So is dead, we're going to check it. And from true, we're going to call print string. We're going to type player is dead. We can copy and paste this print string by Ctrl D. And player is not dead. We're going to write. With this program like this, we're going to execute the true statement because we have this selected. Now let's try it out. Player is dead. Now let's go back to uncheck it just to make sure everything works properly. Player is not dead. This is very useful in the future programming because with this you can create as many times as you want. So I have selected this one and we can just copy and paste. Later on we can check whether the player is dead after a few seconds, after 5 seconds. Now let's see how can we do this. Let's put this aside for now. Now we're gonna make the player dead. So when the game starts, we're going to check whether the player is dead or not. And after 2 seconds, so right click and type delay. And after 2 seconds, we're going to check whether the player is dead or not. So select the macro. We're going to simply copy and paste. If the player is dead, we're going to write again, player is dead. If the player is not dead, after 2 seconds, we're going to print this note. So let's uncheck it. So that way we're going to have 2 different checkings. So when the game starts, we should see player is dead. After 2 seconds, we are checking again whether the player is dead or not. In this case, it's not dead. We should see this message. Let's see now. We have 2 seconds. Player is not dead. So this is how we are creating and reusing macros. In the future lessons, we will create more complex macros with much greater functionality. This is going to be it for this lesson. I will see you in the next one.